Hello everybody, this is Mad Boosting, and I'm going to give you the history of Japanese muscle cars. As everybody knows, the R32 GTR took the world by storm when it came out in 1989. And I'm going to show you other cars that led up to that, the Japanese muscle cars. Starting with the Nissan Bluebird. These cars came out in the mid to late 60s. The Nissan Bluebird 1800 Triple S. A very interesting, nostalgic car from Japan. Four-door coupe, economical four-cylinder engine, hauls your family around and still classy and sporty. What more can you ask for in a Japanese car? There's this Bluebird right here. There's the interior. There's the little four-cylinder engine it had. That's what the data plate looked like under the hood. There's the front view with its headlights on. There's a nice rear view of the Nissan Bluebird. Here's another classic car from Japan, known as the Mazda Cosmo. This is a classic car called the Mazda Cosmo. Very interesting car. It was one of the first cars in Japan with a rotary engine, along with the RX-7 and some others that Mazda made. These came out late 60s, early 70s, and there's rotary Mazdas even today. Here's the front view of the Mazda Cosmo. What a great looking car. Almost has a smiling face to it. You see the eyes, the headlights are the eyes, and the mouth is that grill. What a happy car. And it's fast too. Here's some more pictures of the Mazda Cosmo. A little bit of its interior right there. You see the steering wheel in the front end. There's a picture of its old classic 12A rotary engine. And there's the side view of this car. Here's another classic, the Mazda Luce. It also had a rotary engine, late 60s, early 70s. This one's a 75. Here's another Mazda Luce, 1973 example. It was even made in a four-door version as well. Here's another example of the Mazda Luce, the 1975 version right there. Another great rotary-powered sleeper of a car. Haul your family around and have a nice rotary engine too. There's more rotary engines in Japan, rotary-powered cars, than just the RX-7 alone. Here's another Mazda Luce, the Gran Turismo. Very interesting car, another sleeper, four-door, early 70s, actually mid to late 70s, 77 to be exact. They even made a station wagon, kind of hard to see this one, but yes, they even made a Luce Mazda station wagon with a rotary engine in it, a 12A rotary engine. And there is that Mazda 12A rotary engine right there. What a great engine. It was also in the RX-7s that were imported to the States, the 12A, the first ones, 1979. The first Skyline they ever made. They used to call them Nissan Prince. This one is a 2000 GTA. One of the first ones. Back then, the first Skylines had single overhead cam engines, and some had just overhead valve engines with carburetors. These were late 60s, early 70s here. Of course, these early Skylines had a lot of racing success on the track. They were very popular for great handling track cars, as well as great power for that time period, late 60s. Here are some of the Japanese race cars. on the track from way back when. Here is a very rare Z car from Nissan. Back then, and in Japan, they always called them the Nissan Fairlady Z. This specific Z was in the early 70s called the Fairlady Z 432. 4 valve per cylinder, 3 carburetor, 2 camshafts. That's what the 432 stood for. Very interesting car which shared the same engine as the late 60s Skyline 2000 GTR. It had an engine called the S20, dual overhead cam, 4 valve per cylinder, triple Solex Mikuni carburetors, and a header. A quite competitive engine on the track, and they loved them on the roads more than you would know. Here's the rear view of the Fairlady Z 432. Here's the front view of the Fairlady Z 432. Here's an illustration, a picture of the S20 inline 6, 4 valve per cylinder, dual overhead cam, and the plug was in the center of the engine, hemispherically placed. But Japan didn't call them Hemi engines, even though they've been doing them for as long as the late 60s. And there they are, the triple Mikuni S Solex carburetors, right from the factory. Headers, what an engine, way ahead of its time. Most engines didn't get double overhead cam till, dang, the 80s. Late 80s, early 90s, and even some cars today still don't have dual overhead camshaft engines. They're still stuck with the overhead valve, old design. There's the cockpit of Fairlady Z 432. Quite a nice car. There's what a data plate would look like on a Fairlady 432. There's the data plate of the Nissan Fairlady Z 432. There's the S130 body style from 1979 to 82, and this particular one is a 2+2 model of the Fairlady Z, called the 280ZX in America. And this body style was 1969 through 78, called the 240 through 280Z. But in Japan, they were called the S30 Fairlady Z. This example of the S30 Fairlady Z, 1969 to 78, this was also a 2+2 4-seater version. Here's the back view of the 1969 through 1978 Fairlady Z 2+2. A little different than the 2-seater. Here's an example of the data plate. An underhood picture under the hood. 130 body style from 1979 to 1982. The engine view of that same S130, 79 to 82 Fairlady Z or 280ZX in the United States. And this model of the 280ZX or S130 is a 2+2 version, 4-seater. The 2-seaters look a lot different, as you'll see in some other pictures. Here's the side view of the S30Z, 1970 to 1978, 2+2 4-seater Fairlady Z, or 240, 260 through 280Z. It was an option to have 2+2 or 4-seater. This is the 2+2 or 4-seater version of the 1979 through 1983 Fairlady 280ZX, or 280ZX in America. Here's what these two cars look like with their hoods open. The hoods came open from the rear to the forward part of the car. They opened up from the rear to the front. Very interesting. Very interesting concept. So if you accidentally leave your hood latch unlocked, it's not going to open up at speed. Here's some other illustrations. That's the 280Z from 75 to 78. This is a right-hand drive Fairlady Z from Japan. And that's the S130, 79 to 83. Notice the steering wheel's on the right, the Japanese Fairlady Z version. The American versions, the steering wheel's around the left. This is how a racing Fairlady Z from 69 to 78 looked on the track racing. Most of them had modifications done to the L28 engine. Triple Solex Mikuni carburetors and headers. Just like on the 432, except it was a larger engine. And some of these engines were raced out to 3.1 liters of displacement by using the LD28 crank from the LD28 diesel inline-six engine that Nissan made. It's the back view of that race car. 69 to 78 body style. Here's another view of how these Fairlady Zs looked. They had the mirrors on the fenders in the front instead of on the sides like the American version. Here's a side view of a 1980 through 1983 Fairlady Z. This is a Japan version. Right-hand drive, two-seater version. Notice the difference in the back window. You can tell a two-seater from a four-seater by the one in the picture. The one in the picture is a two-seater. You can tell by the smaller window, where the four-seater has a longer and extended window. This is a two-seater version of the S30, 1969 through 1978 the same body Fairlady, style. But in orange. Good-looking cars. Here's an example of a raced-out Fairlady Z. Notice the triple carburetors, the highly hopped-up L28 engine, most likely bored and stroked to 3,100 cc's. What a monster. Yep, the Japanese muscle cars were very fast as well, just like ours, except on the other side of the planet. It's amazing what you see when you start looking and researching the history of other motors and other motor companies throughout the world. Here's another fine example of a Japan race car. This is an S130 body style 1979 to 1983. This is a full-out version race car, a drag version race car of this body style. There's the front. There's the rear. See the parachute they incorporated? Because this thing's going to go so fast, you need a parachute to help slow it down. And look at those big slicks they threw in there. American Goodyear Eagle racing slicks. Nice. Here is the front and side profile of that same race car. Wow, what a fast car. Here is also a rear and side view of that same race car. The S130Z was one monstrous Z car, especially fully tuned like this one. Even the interior of this car was highly modified. Look at these pictures here. The inside cockpit of that Z is monstrous. Look at that racing fuel cell in the back. This is a very serious drag car. This is one of those engines that made it to the States. 4-cylinder, L20 4-cylinder. But they put those in the Nissan Bluebird, which was a car that did not come to America. Here's what the interior looked like on these old 240 through 280 ZXs. This was the 1969 through 78 body style Japan version called the Fairlady S30Z. See the interior? It's right-hand drive, and if you look really close, all the instrumentation is in kilometers an hour. Here's a nice front view of a Fairlady Z. This is the 1969 through 78 body style, right-hand drive. What a nice looking car. Here's an example of some Japanese nostalgic muscle cars for sale in the used sale ads. These cars go for very big money in Japan. And you can also import these to the States since they meet our 25-year-old minimum rule. So anything over 25 years old, we can import to the States. All these cars in here, all these old Japanese nostalgic cars right here, are included. They're all way older than that 25 years. Every one of these classics you can have. Something to think about. And thank you for watching Mad Boosting. And I'll be giving you some more information and history of old classic Japanese cars in the near future. Mad Boosting.